Aloha, and welcome to Voices of Truth One-on-One with Hawaii's Future, brought to you by the Kiwani Foundation. I'm Mehu Kekahu Cardwell, and here we are today on the windward side of Oahu. And I'll tell you this right now, we have a fascinating guest on the show. So let's go on over here and meet him. Daniel, aloha.
Aloha. Aloha.
Daniel Aipa, did I say your name right?
Yes, sir.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And Daniel, tell us where we are today. This is gorgeous.
Yeah, right now we're looking over Kauai Nui marshland in Kailo Ko'olapoko area of the windward side. So
wow, this is gorgeous here.
It's awesome. It's great. I mean, it's a beautiful day too with all the rain that's been coming around.
Yep.
It's nice that the sun's been peeking through the skies, and it's a blessing.
The sun is out just for us.
Exactly.
Good. Well, Daniel, we wanted to have you on the show today because we wanted to talk about something that you're involved in that's really fascinating and exciting, and that's the KOO project.
Yes, yes. KOO project.
Tell us what that is.
You know, the KOO project it really started off as just my way of sharing my journey towards learning more about who I am as a Native Hawaiian, learning my place of what it means to be Hawaiian in this modern day, and then also focusing on the fitness and health of myself. So it just turned into, at first it was just an Aipa project, more focused on me. But then what I learned was that more and more people were interested about my journey, so it became the KOO project. So one of the things I always ask people is like, what do you think KOO means? And then, so what do you think KOO means?
Well, KOO is one of the four gods.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
But KOO also can mean warrior, to be strong, yes?
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of people first think of KOO. They always think about warrior, they always think about Ku Kailimoku is specifically for Kamehameha's God, right? Mm-hmm. But for me, I focus on what they call the kauna, right? The hidden meanings.
Yeah.
Because when you look at all around us, ulu is also the symbol of KOO.
Yes.
And there's the legend of KOO sacrificing his body for the village, for his family, in order to feed them. So it's not all about war, not all about power and strength and everything and conquering. It's also about providing. Another kino form of KOO is the o'o, which is the agricultural land. So it also cultivates the land. So there's a lot of different moving pieces of what KOO means. And I try to learn as much as possible and then teach people what I've learned along the way.
So it doesn't mean just war, it means many different things.
Yeah, and that's what people get stuck with, is thinking that it's just all about war.
All right, so Daniel, when did your personal journey about all this start? How long ago?
I'll say it started back in 2009 specifically.
Really?
Yeah, 2009. I mean, it's always been since I was a kid, always trying to wonder who I was as a Native Hawaiian, my place as Native Hawaiian. Because I'll be honest, I was never good at school. Education was always a hard thing for me. And going to a high school was very strict on education. I found myself at the lower ranking of the class. So it made me feel like I was part of that inferiority complex of not being smart, not being able to succeed, because the better your grades, the more successful you'll be in life. The worse the grades, not so much. And that's what was taught to us over and over again. So I came into that position where I was like, oh man, like there's nothing for me to do then, I guess, because I'm never good at school. I just couldn't understand it. But then what I excelled in was fitness and sports and being an athlete. And that's where I gravitated towards, of being more hands-on, more physical, and more creative with what I do with that things.
What age did you have this insight about you were so much better at, physical stuff and physical activity and education than book learning?
That was way before. I was in high school, where I just could never. I was that kid who had mandatory after-school help, mandatory study hall, mandatory tutoring. That was me. In school, and it was tough. So one thing that everybody was like, wow, you're not so good in education, but wow, you really excel at arts, design, at more physical performance, like sports and so forth. So that's where I was kind of like, well, that's where I should be focusing on then. That's where I feel happiest. I'm not the person who likes to be sitting down in a classroom very much, because there's so much more things that I would like to be doing. So at a young age, I knew that education just wasn't my strong point, and more of the creativity side and physical aspect of life was where I wanted to excel more in.
So when you had that insight, then what did you do?
I went to college.
Wow.
Well, one thing was because my parents really believed in education. So to make them proud of me, because I decided I would go to college, and went to college. But what was the best part was a blessing in disguise, because when I went to college my freshman year, the strength conditioning coach who was in charge of all the athletes was also from Hawaii.
No kidding.
Yeah, and he kind of saw that I wasn't playing any sports. I was kind of backtracking a little more, but I was kicked out my senior year in high school, just for academics wise and so forth. But then he saw that I wasn't playing any sports, and I just told him I was just over playing sports. Wasn't in the best time of my life. I felt like I was disappointed. And then he asked, "Do you still want to be in this activity? Do you just want to be on sports?" I said, "Of course." So then he took me under his wings and said, like, "Well, how about you coach? You rather than being an athlete, you train the athletes, you coach the athletes." And it just went from there. And I've been doing that since 2004 now. I felt like I wasn't weighed down anymore. I felt like I didn't have to try and prove to other people who I was, rather than prove to myself of who I was. That's the most important thing that I think a lot of people tend to forget, is that it's not about proving to other people. Because to me, I always say, if you're trying to prove to other people and impress other people, you're just proving that you're a fool yourself. The most important person you have to prove is to yourself, basically.
Wow.
Yeah.
So then you went to college. You had the good fortune to find the coach who was also from Hawaii.
Yeah.
And then at what point did the Aipa project start?
Oh, that started in 2009.
So that was way after college.
Yeah, way after college. Because during that time I was in school, working, and enjoying college. And after that, it was 2009 was when I found out I was no longer in school. I no longer was working. I was kind of in that little transition period. And I started the Aipa project, which later turned on to the Coop project, because I wanted to start something for myself, to build something that I felt proud of for myself. Didn't know that I was going to get to where I am now. It was just kind of like an accident. It was just, oh, this is something I want to talk about and share with other people. And maybe my parents back at home and my cousins and friends who live on the islands while I was living away could just keep up with me. But it just kind of grew from there.
Yeah. Wow. So how long did the Aipa project last? How many years?
The Aipa project lasted for 3 years. So it went from 2010 to 2013, then it turned into the Coop project in 2013.
All right, what made it turn into the Coop project?
It just, more and more people were sharing their stories with me about them feeling empowered about my journey towards finding who I really was, and also embracing how important fitness and health is to me, because our biggest asset in life is health and fitness. I come from a family where, our health isn't the best. We have a lot of cardiovascular disease, a lot of hypertension, a lot of diabetes. So one of the big things, those are all lifestyle behaviors. So I figured if I could be a role model to my family themselves and my friends, to be like, hey, you got to take care of your health, you got to be strong, got to be fit, that I could actually help them. But then what I learned was that I was helping more people that's outside of my circle.
Gotcha. So when people heard your story, they saw themselves in you, yes?
Yeah.
And so then the first circle of people outside of you that you thought you could help were friends and family.
Yep.
But then it got larger than that.
Then it got larger than that.
Wow.
So, and then that's where I felt like, no, it's no longer the Aipa project. It's no longer about Aipa. It's about a bigger group of people who are also looking for that little nudge. This would be like, you can start now. There's never too late to start when it comes to fitness and health. But the hardest thing for people to do is to start, right?
Yes.
That's the hardest thing.
Yeah. Taking that first step.
Yeah.
That first run, that first workout.
Right. And then sticking with it.
Yes.
That's the hardest thing there's so many great programs out there, but it's whether or not the people can actually stick with it. And that's where what we call aho nui, the patience, comes in. Learning how to be like, hey, it's not going to come overnight. It takes a lot of hard work and consistency. And I think in today's society where everything's so instant, it's a hard thing for people to grasp in that mindset. My background is working with athletes. So before I moved home back in 2013, I was a head strength and conditioning coach at a university out in California.
Okay.
So I worked with hundreds of athletes throughout the day and coaching 21 collegiate sports also throughout the whole year.
Seriously?
So
you had your hands full.
Yeah, I had my hands full. There's only 2 of us running the whole program.
Wow.
So when it comes to understanding individuals, that was a challenge itself. When you have hundreds of people you come across every day, you get to see patterns and you get to learn about patterns. So in order to bring out the best performance out of the individual, you have to be able to connect with them. So as with all the athletes that I worked with, I didn't care about the workout. I cared about the connection first, because the individual if whoever you're working with cares more about how you care about them than the actual work that they got to do. Like if they understand that you care about them, that you genuinely care about them and have aloha for them, then their work, they will understand what you're trying to do, that you're trying to bring out the best in them. So that's what my main focus first is to do with anybody I work with, is to make sure that they understand is like, I'm here for you, and that it's not, that's how it works, you know. There's, I want to work just as hard as you work to get you better, and I expect you to work too.
Wow. So you begin to see patterns in people, and that's what began to give you your training into getting inside of people's heads.
Yes, and then it goes back to having that empathy. I think we all have it, but some of us just close ourselves to it. So when you see an individual walk and they're looking like they're kind of down, you feel a little down, and you kind of already question, like, oh, so what's going on today? And if they don't want to tell you, they don't want to tell you. But as long as you're aware of that, I think that's a very powerful tool to have, is that empathy and that compassion, and to be open to that. Because again, in today's world, a lot of people close themselves off to that empathy and think more about themselves rather than having that connection with one another.
Yeah, well, our environment and the way the world works today, and everything being so fast and at a fast pace, really drives that. I mean, sometimes, you know, we feel like we have no other option than to be that way. Yeah.
Right. Because everything's just head down and go to work.
Exactly.
You know, and that's what happens. But then when you are an individual who goes out of your way to open yourself up and to find a person who is so tunnel vision, but then so that you're open, it kind of makes them, what I like to say, stand cool. Because rather than going this, they look up and they stand cool, they stand tall. You know, so cool also means to stand tall and strong. And that's why we always talk about to be cool, to be you, because you get to stand the tallest when you're actually yourself. I've given my life to learn what it actually means to be cool. And my hope is just to teach people what I've learned.
Wow. Daniel, can you take us through, can you describe to us what it's like to go through one of your training sessions or spending time with you as a trainer and how you train people?
I'm really about, I have one of my biggest role models is Bruce Lee, actually. And he talks about how self-expression comes through martial arts. And I apply that same thing to physical performance and physical training. When you exercise your body, you have all these endorphins that kick in, your chemical reactions that happen in your body, that you start to just feel great. I'm sure you've experienced that way. If you go for a good run, you have energy all day.
Yep.
So I try to focus more in that area, just to be like, hey, we're gonna make you feel good. Because one of the indications that a lot of people today make when it comes to working out is how hard they worked out, rather than how well they feel after. So if they're crawling out of the gym, they're like, oh, that's a good workout. But I tell everyone, it's like, anybody can make a hard workout. You know, a monkey can make a hard workout. But is it an efficient workout? Is it a beneficial workout? Is it a workout with purpose? And do you feel better about yourself after? Or do you just feel like you want to complain about how hard that workout is? So one of the things we do is we always use our whole body. We train our whole body every single training session. And it's all about the more muscles we use, the more movements we have, the more expression we can have. One of the things that we like to do is a simple exercise, a med ball slam, you know, or a rock slam if we're at the beach. And just that simple thing, it's like when you're upset and you just want to punch a pillow or punch a punching bag and everything, and you feel really good after. We all have these pent up energy. It's all about energy. We talk about mana and energy. It's all about transferring energy back and forth between the good and the bad. And if we have all this pent up aggression and energy, we can either use it in a good way or use it in a bad way. For me, I found that exercise was my way to putting myself into a good way.
What kind of goals do you have people who work with you set?
Most of them just at first want to lose weight. You know, and a lot of people want to lose weight. They want to lose weight, others want to get stronger, other ones want to get bigger, depending on, I have a wide range of individuals that come. But when it comes to goals, the first thing I always talk to people is consistency first. Before we start talking about goals, let's be consistent first, and then we can go from there. So that's a hard thing for a lot of people, is that consistency. But it tests them, is if they're actually ready or not, and we go from there.
How often do people work with you? Several times a week, once a week, once a month, what?
I have individuals who work for me once a month, once a week, 2 to 3 times a week. A majority of them work 2 to 3 times a week with me. So, and it's that thing where it's becoming more of a community, And I think I attribute them to having the Coop project to be a little more bigger than just me, because everyone starts their own Coop project. Like, I want to start my own Coop project. I want to be cool. So they start going out and doing more stuff at the fish ponds, or they go out to spend more time with family. So whatever it is that makes you stronger, that's what it means to be cool. It helps you stand taller. We always talk about how strength is contagious, right? If you talk to a person who has a lot of muscle and a lot of strength, you kind of want to stand up a little taller, you know, because oh wow, like I feel that energy. So if I can get one person to get stronger, to want to become stronger, then just imagine the effect it has on the rest of the people that they come in contact with.
Wow. So a lot of the people that have worked with you and are working with you have become so inspired by the work they do with you that they now have gone out in the community themselves and have started all kinds of different projects, yeah?
Yeah, so, and that's what makes me happy to see that going on, because it's not just about me anymore. It's about helping out as much people as possible just to feel stronger. And as simple as this sounds, that's all I want, to help people just feel stronger, to be cool.
Daniel, I want to talk for a moment now about old Hawaii, pre-contact Hawaii, and what Hawaiians looked like physically versus today.
Yeah.
And so, first of all, I want to say that it's no accident that we are where we are today, taping the show, because as you look around, this looks not exactly like, but similar to what old Hawaii looked like before the Europeans arrived.
Yes, yes.
And the reason we're here is because all this takes a lot of hard physical labor.
Exactly.
And so Hawaiians back then.
Yeah, actually, there's an essay, recollection of when the missionaries first came. I forget who wrote this essay, but he talked about the physiques of ancient Hawaii. And when I came across that, I was like, wow, this is going to be really interesting. And when I read it, they were like, their health was superb, muscular, lean, healthy, you know, and the women rivaled their strength. And you know, when I read that, I was just like, well, where are we now? We're far away from that. There's a big gap. And when it comes to what they're doing, yeah, they're working the land, they're gathering the food, they're doing all that stuff. But so then when you look at where we are today, we don't have that same connection, which is why there's a lot of programs who are trying to get people back into the low E, back into the land. But there's a big group of people who maybe, again, going back only maybe for that weekend, maybe for that once every 6 months, but then they go back home, sit on the couch and so forth. So it's having that pride and being like, hey, look at what we were, look at who we were. We were a symbol of strength, even in ancient times, but we lost a symbol of strength and health in the ancient times, but then we lost it somewhere along. But it's still within us, it's still in our DNA. But now we just have to adapt to where we are in today's modern world and see how we can do this. So for me, that's where I like to get more work when I work with people, individuals, training them, because I stay active. Not only do I like to work out, but I also like to coach people. So there's a big difference. You can like to work out, but do you like to actually coach people?
Or even good at it.
Or even good at it.
Because a lot of people are not good at it.
Yeah, exactly. And can you do it for a long period of time with the same amount of energy as you had for the first person? And that's mentally, emotional, and spiritually draining for an individual. But you just gotta know how to reserve that mana, that energy, to be able to place it to each and every individual that you come across.
Wow. Daniel, what do you think the key is, or maybe I should say, is there a key to motivating not an individual, but a whole large population of people to start to think and view this a whole different way?
You know, I think that's what a lot of the programs are trying to figure out, is how can we have this whole community, how can we have the whole Native Hawaiian community understand what the problems are. Because I think a lot of people are very quick to point out the problems, but have a hard time pointing out the solutions or following through with the solutions. So I can only do what I can do by being an example, by showing by example. And I only hope that that empowers other people to be like, you know what, if he can do it, I can do that. It goes back to understanding your story, the background of each individual. And because this whole interview, you know, I was taught at a young age, one story can mean one story to one person, like for yourself. You could be taking whatever you take from this and looking at your own life. But if you look at all your viewers out there, I tell them their story becomes 1,000 different stories, depending on what they take from our interview and when I was talking stories. And I think what we need to be also more aware of is where we are today, what we have today, and the tools we have today. So I think like digital media is very important, because everybody's on it right now. So I'm very strong in that area. I'm always posting stuff. I'm always sharing stuff. I'm always writing articles because that's where everyone's at. Everyone's on their phones today. So if they can come across me at some point and be like, wow, this guy's doing something different, doing something cool, you know, I want to do something cool myself and everything. So I think we need to use the resources that we have today in order to reach out to the people who need the help, who are Native Hawaiians, and in order to get them up and standing cool again.
Wow.
Yeah.
Daniel, you know, the coup metaphor is obviously very, very, very Hawaiian. It's the very, you know, epicenter, ground zero of what it means to be Hawaiian.
Yeah.
So do you think that concept, that frame, if you will, can be used outside of Hawaii?
Oh, yes. I mean, it comes back to the be you. Like when you are feeling yourself, whoever you are, whatever you do, whenever you're yourself, you stand the tallest. So the be you, be cool is such a universal thing. If you can just be honest with yourself and have that self-awareness of who you really are, what you're really good at, and what you really enjoy doing, and go in on it, all that, then you can stand a little taller. And then once you do that, you become that similar strength, which also makes strength contagious. And then you make someone else stand a little taller because they feel your presence, they feel that energy, that mana that we always talk about in Hawaii. So they want to feel that way as well. So they do whatever they can do to figure out what makes them feel cool.
Wow. So somebody could use the coup, inspiration of coup and the model of coup and being coup, whether they're in Hawaii, whether they're in the South Pole, the North Pole, Russia, China, Africa.
Yeah. I mean,
anywhere, yeah?
As long as they can grasp what cool means, the whole thing, not just that one aspect that many of us only focus on, but the whole part of it. Because destruction is part of it. You know, anger, you know, aggression, that's all part of life. But then there's a bigger other side to it as well. So I think if everybody can just embody what it means to be cool, then it's a very, very powerful thing to have. We all have those inner demons. I always say that you can be your biggest motivator or your worst bully. You know, you can bring yourself up or you can smash yourself down just as hard as you build yourself up. And so it's more about that destruction of voices that, who are you gonna listen to more? You know, what are you gonna do? Like, are you gonna listen to the voice that's gonna be pushing you down, or are you gonna listen to the voice that's gonna be lifting you up? And that's part of the coup itself, that inner, we call that inner demon, right? That's in us. We all have it, but who's gonna be louder?
Daniel, what is next for you?
Oh, next for me. You know, that's a question my wife even asked me too. But what's next for me, the coup project, the ultimate next step would be to have headquarters, basically, where it's a combination of creativity and performance, physical performance, where we can collaborate together with other programs to be like, how can we work together when it comes to physical fitness and health in a more creative aspect of things. So that's kind of like the next step, because right now I train out of a gym right now in Kaneohe, and that's a great place, but then to have our own place where we can use in a more creative way to be able to have people come inside to share their story, to have more seminars and workshops, but then be in this area where physical performance and the Native Hawaiian culture is integrated. It makes it a very powerful place to be at. Because I think when you throw in a Native Hawaiian culture to physical performance, people can feel more connected to the exercise. Just by, focusing on your ha, focusing on your breath, just by small little Native Hawaiian aspects, it makes people feel like a little more relatable to it. So they want to be part of it. So that's the next step, is to make something much bigger than just what's on the digital side, but to actually have a headquarters where everything can just manifest itself from there.
Wow. So that making something bigger, Daniel, could mean first in Hawaii, but it could mean also ultimately outside of Hawaii.
Oh yeah, because we have a lot of people who love Hawaii. We're all about Hawaii. We have a lot of Native Hawaiian community outside of Hawaii. So if we can go even extend outside, extend our arms of aloha out to the rest of everybody else, that's even much more powerful thing. So then it slowly gets into everyone to ultimately be cool, to be walking a little taller. And who doesn't want to walk a little taller?
A lot of people throughout Hawaii watch Voices of Truth one-on-one with Hawaii's Future. But Voices of Truth airs outside of Hawaii, throughout the U.S. and literally around the world.
Wow.
And it could be right now that somebody on the opposite side of the world from where we are right now is watching us. And they're saying to themselves, that guy is great. I mean, he's really motivated, he's focused, he's done it, I can tell that. And he does it every day consistently. and I've been trying to get myself to do this for a long time, and I just can't.
Yeah.
What would you say to them?
I would say to them is to look yourself in the mirror and then ask yourself, who do you want to be? And spend some time in that mirror until you can actually answer it yourself. Because the hardest thing that people can do is look at themselves in the mirror and feel proud. So if you can actually have that conversation with yourself in that mirror of who you want to be, and look at yourself right in the eye. We say Kubmaka, the eye that stands tall. And if you can even just imagine yourself being a certain way, and you see your eyes kind of dilate a little more and you stand a little taller, that's who you want to be. And that's what you got to do. And you hold on to that and you remember that feeling, because that's the feeling that you always want to be chasing after over and over again. And that's the feeling that I chase after over and over again. So that's what I was telling first.
That's what you chase after every single day,
Every
isn't
day,
it?
yep.
Be cool.
Be cool, yeah.
Wow, what a great message. And that's where we have to leave it. Daniel Aipa, thank you so much. Mahalo for
Yeah,
being on
mahalo.
Voices of Truth. Mahalo to our viewers for joining Daniel and me here on the windward side of Oahu at the amazing Ulupoheao. Remember, you can watch us on the web 24/7 on voicesoftruth.tv.com, and you can visit Voices of Truth One-on-One with Hawaii's Future on Facebook. I'm Ehuke Kahu Cardwell for the Kiwani Foundation, and along with Daniel Aipa. Until next time, ahui ho!
Aloha.
Mahalo for watching Voices of Truth One-on-One with Hawaii's Future. Watch us on the web 24/7 at voicesoftruth.tv.com. You'll find all our shows, including this one, in case you want to see it again or share it with family and friends. Also view our weekly video commentaries at freehawaiitv.com. And check out our blog, published daily, at freehawaii.info. It's all part of the Free Hawaii Broadcasting Network.